Hey guys, and welcome to the wrap up. If you haven't been here before, this is the official Raptors Republic live post game show where we recap, we dissect, and we have a lot of fun talking about the latest Raptors game. Oren, matinee alert. I started off entering this broadcast saying good afternoon, which is a little bit different for this game. Saturday afternoon, a 1 p.m. game in Madison Square Garden. The New York Knicks, 8-game winning streak. This was a really fun game. I've always said I love the lighting in both the Staples Center and the Madison Square Garden. I feel like the lighting in those two arenas are the best in the league. Again, this is the second straight time, Oren. I got to the game before even introducing us. I'm your co-host Sahal Abdi again here with Oren Weisfeld. Our Twitter ats are below, or I should say our Twitter usernames are down below. Oren, tonight the Raptors came up short to the Knicks, 120-103. That brings the Raptors record to, and I got, you know what's funny, Oren? I got a lot of DMs this week. I got one email of someone telling me that I was getting the record wrong. I don't know if it was the last few games or whatever it was, but I can tell you that I'm 99% sure that it's 25-35 this season. Everyone's like, Sahal, it's not 24 wins, it's 25. Get it right. You're one below. I'm just letting you know. I love your show, though. So that was nice. So 25-35 on the season now. The Knicks have extended that winning streak to 9 games. Man, oh man, this was fun, Oren. Like, this was a lot of fun. The Knicks are a damn fun team to watch. Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, Canadian RJ Barrett. We'll get into him a bit later, but what did you like most about this game? Who impressed you the most?
Definitely Julius Randle. But, I mean, first of all, the fact that you're getting emails, that's big time.
I got one email, just one, but it was like,
still, the fact that someone took their time to email you, that's, even if it's for criticism, even if like you get an email that's criticism, you're like, hey, at least you took the time to email me. That's nice.
Yeah.
But this was a really fun game on the bright side. It was close down to the wire. The Raptors, I thought, played, pretty well for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But, we'll get into some of the things they didn't do so well. But for the most part, the Knicks just had some crazy shot making. Julius Randle was unbelievable. And it wasn't even like he was doing it inside, which is kind of his bread and butter. He was mostly surviving off threes and long twos.
Yeah.
And, he made OG Anunoby look like a very average defender, which is hard to do. But give credit where it's due. Him and Derrick Rose just made tough shot after tough shot. And then the Raptors kind of had to sell out on them, which led to some open threes. And some of those the Raptors should have been watching for, like a Reggie Bullock to not get open. But once a Julius Randle scares you that much, it's kind of hard to focus on the other guys at the same time. So I give a lot of credit to Julius Randle. This was like a pressure-filled game to come out here and, get them their ninth win in a row. He's the real deal. He's the most improved player, and give credit where it's due.
And give credit where it's due indeed. Sorry to Jeremy Grant, man. That MIP was looking like it was all yours at one point. Christian Wood even early on in the season until he went down.
Winning. That's what winning will do, though. If you are like those two guys that you mentioned are both having great seasons, but they're on terrible teams. So Julius, once he figured out how to help his team win on top of just playing well and being better than he has in the past, he kind of made himself a favorite for that award.
Yeah, for sure.
Look at Siakam. It was the same thing when he won 2 years ago. His team was winning. It's a lot easier when your team is winning.
100%. Yeah, so the former MIP spent some time guarding what's soon to be the current most improved player this season. So again, sorry to Jeremy Grant, Christian Wood. Great seasons from you guys. But when you really look at it, the box score improvements are one thing, but Julius Randle is not just looking like the MIP, Oren. He's looking a lot, and I mean a lot, like an all-NBA guy. And I'm prepared. I was, kind of drafting what I thought my all-NBA first team, second team, and third team would be. And I tweeted about it too, how one of Damian Lillard, Stephen Curry, or Luka Doncic is going to be on the second team, which is insane to me because I feel like they've all had seasons where they could be first team guards. But man, Julius Randle's in my second team, man. Like, Julius Randle is firmly in my all-NBA second team. I had to bump Paul George down to the next tier, which some people might think that's unfair because he's shooting incredibly this season. I didn't even know he was shooting 43% this season. I think 48% from the field, Paul George. And then also the Clippers are doing really well. But yeah, Julius Randle, I put him in my All-NBA second team as of now with Kawhi Leonard taking up the 2 forward positions. So, I mean, he's incredible. He started this game hot, right? And again, like I said, I totally forgot, even though I searched this like 4 days ago, Oren, I totally forgot that Julius Randle came into this game shooting 41% from three. That's a complete WTF. Why is Julius Randle shooting 41% from three this season, right? And then in this game, Oren, it's better. He shot 5 for 7. So for all we know, the next game he's coming into it shooting 42, 43%. And I don't know how he was, hitting some of these shots. I mean, he started off 3 for 4 from three. Like you said, he holds so much offensive like gravity that when he has the ball, all the Raptors, defenders are looking at him. They double teamed him multiple points in this game. And him demanding that type of attention has made him such a good front court playmaker because defenses obviously put him in a position to make difficult, a lot of times cross court passes which is what he was doing in this game when he was getting double teamed. So he's a great playmaker, man. 6 assists per game. Like you said, the guaranteed MIP, 24 points per game, 10.5 rebounds, 6 assists. The Knicks are firmly in 4th place in the East. He's one of those guys that, man, oh man, like I know we talk a lot about MVP rankings and this and that, but he's in my top 10, man. He's in my top 10. And I don't know if anyone would disagree with that at this point. I don't know what that really says, but I mean, to say you're one of the 10 maybe best or most influential players in the league this season is huge. So shout out to Julius Randle.
Yeah, for sure.
It helps, Oren, that the Knicks are a damn good 3-point shooting team. Were you shocked with their 3-point shooting? Because I'm pretty sure they came into this game, I think, the best 3-point shooting team in the league or top 3, something around there.
Yeah, I think this is where the Raptors' lack of chemistry right now and just their general rust playing together is where I notice it the most because like they were, especially once he got rolling, they started sending doubles at Julius, but their doubles just weren't crisp like we're used to seeing from the Raptors. Like we're used to seeing doubles not only force guys to make the pass, but force turnovers, force tough passes. And really Julius never seemed that troubled by it, and like give credit because he is improving as a playmaker. But I just felt like the Raptors lacked a little bit of trust, a little bit of like emergency when they double teamed him. It was just a little slower than we're used to seeing. Guys weren't rotating to cover up for other guys as quickly. Mm-hmm. And I think that's like, that's just the Raptors haven't played together much recently. The starters haven't played together much recently. So that so I can't say I'm surprised because honestly most of those threes were pretty open threes. Like when I think about Obi Toppin's threes or Quickly's threes, those were for the most part wide open kickouts from Rose or from Julius. So yeah, I mean, it's been the Raptors, one of their problems all year. They give open threes to role players, and role players have been knocking them down against us this season. So it's kind of part of the defense, and it's kind of just a lack of, I think, defensive chemistry right now.
Man, oh man. I think, Oren, when obviously, we cover the Raptors, but when you watch a player from afar that you're not really 100% sure whether or not, all the attention he's getting, especially on NBA Twitter, is warranted. For me, it's not that necessarily that I wasn't sure with Julius Randle, but I felt that, I really got to watch this guy to see how good he is, to see how good these Knicks are. I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't got a lot of a chance to see the Knicks play this season. And a lot of people have been saying, watch these Knicks. Like, they're impressive. RJ Barrett, they got some amazing teammate chemistry, good blend of vets in Taj Gibson and Derrick Rose, and then the youngins and Emmanuel Quickly and Toppin, and then you got Randall, the guys in between. Oh, man. This was the game where I realized that, the Knicks, they are quite deservedly a 4th seed in the East. Like, this is a good basketball team, a well-coached basketball team, a team that for us, I think as you know, again, people who cover the Raptors, it was one of those like, epiphanies that we had where not only is this team play very clean basketball, they have a star in Julius Randle who's also fun to watch, but they're just fun, man. Like their bench is going crazy, their crowd was going crazy.
Yeah.
Julius Randle got MVP chance multiple times in the game. RJ Barrett hit that dagger at the end, which I felt was like the turning point. The Raptors are making a comeback very late, and then RJ Barrett got that Kawhi bounce. That unfortunately also happened to be an and one where Noel hit a free throw. So, man, oh, man, the Knicks are fun.
Yeah.
And I don't care, Oren, I'm watching the Knicks the rest of the season. Like, this is it. Like, this is a team. I'm rooting for them. I'm always rooting for RJ Barrett. I don't care what team that guy's on. By the way, I can't wait to watch him in Canada or in Canadian colors, hopefully, if he's part of that Olympic qualifying team. You got Greece, you got China in that group. I'm excited, man. RJ, Randall, Bullock is just not missing. Toppin became Dirk Nowitzki in this game. Man.
Yeah, the Knicks are fun. I agree that the league is better when the Knicks are fun. It's fun to see the celebrities. I was watching them play a couple nights ago. Oh, I think the Hawks game. And my boy Action Bronson was going crazy on the sidelines. It's just fun to see. But let's move on to the Raptors. I'm looking at the comments, and people want to talk about the bench, and I do too. I think, the point I want to make about this whole game is that the bench, obviously, you don't have to be a genius to know that they kind of lost them the game, minus 33 for Trent, minus 22 for Utah, minus 24 for Freddie Gillespie. Flynn played only 6 minutes. They lost the minutes that the starters weren't playing, and it was very clear that was the case. The starters had a pretty good game until the fourth quarter when, Siakam started doing bad things, turning the ball over, and they just started making mistakes. But for the most part, all of the starters impressed me. But here's the thing, like I saw all game on Twitter, people calling out the bench. The bench needs to be better. Trent needs to be better. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, these are all true statements. But the other part of it is that you expect starters to prop up bench units. And Nick has not figured out his rotations at all. So I'm paying attention to this for a story I'm writing, which will be out probably this week. So be on the lookout for that. I'm excited about it. But I mean, I'm kind of writing about how I think Fred and OG should play together. But for the most part this season, the rotations have been Kyle and OG run one unit, and Fred and Siakam run another unit. And that's what they did in the first half. It didn't work. And then in the second half, he changed it, and he played OG with Fred and Kyle with Pascal. And the issue with doing that, I'm in favor of switching it up, like I just said, but the issue right now is that they have no chemistry. They don't know what they're doing. Like when OG and Fred played together, it was the first time they had really played together in a very long time as like the only two starters on the floor. And they just didn't know where the offense was coming from. They weren't able to bend defenses. They didn't know what they were running. So, and the same goes for the Kyle and Pascal stuff. It's just like these guys don't have reps running units right now. And so we are blaming the bench, and that's fair. Like the bench guys absolutely need to be better. And Boucher is a huge part of that. We need him back, like we talked about last episode. But regardless, like the sooner the Raptors figure out these rotations, the sooner they'll be able to get their starters, their star players to kind of prop up bench units, because like to see him radically switch up the rotations halfway through a game is pretty rare this late in the season. And there's a lot of circumstances that go into that. Obviously, this season being filled with injuries and stuff. So I don't even really blame Nurse for having not figured it out yet, but it's something to watch for when you criticize the bench players for sure.
Yeah. And to get to your first point, the bench, that was the difference. I mean, it wasn't just the Raptors bench played awful. It was the fact that the Knicks bench played incredibly well.
Yeah.
Toppin, 3 for 4 from 3, plus 10. Taj Gibson, 4 for 5, plus 12. Derrick Rose was 7 for 10, plus 26 with 19 points. How did Derrick Rose get traded for Dennis Smith Jr. in a second-round pick? You know what, Oren? I need an NBA investigation. I need an NBA investigation to take place right now with the Detroit Pistons and New York Knicks. How did Derrick Rose get traded for Dennis Smith Jr. and a second-round pick? And you know what? This isn't even to say Derrick Rose Jr. Derrick Rose Jr. This isn't even to say Derrick Rose is some incredible player who's, an all-star. I know a lot of people still think that, there's a lot of D Rose like mega fans out there who still believe that Derrick Rose is like some all-star player. Derrick Rose isn't an all-star player. Can he start on some teams? Sure. Is he one of the best bench guards in the league? Absolutely. But I don't know. I don't know how that happened. It helped the Knicks out. They got rid of a guy in Dennis Smith Jr. They weren't even getting, they gave up on him. They weren't even going to give him minutes in the first place. And then a second-round pick, which is really just a dart throw in the draft for a guy who could help them immediately. And I think at that point, Tom Thibodeau, who, by the way, Oren, I don't know about you. You got Quinn Snyder, you got Monty Williams, but I think Tom Thibodeau is the coach of the year. I mean, if they can finish in that fourth seed position,
yeah,
man, probably. Oh man, he has my vote. He has my
That's
vote.
What I was gonna say though. Like, Derrick Rose was not playing well in Detroit, so I give a lot of credit to Tibbs for getting the most out of him, putting him in the best positions to succeed for sure. And the other guy I want to quickly shout out before on the Knicks while we're on the topic is I got a clip here. Is Nerlens Noel, who is having a really underrated season. 4 blocks tonight, including this one that was really big. Let me get rid of this comment real quick.
He had like 4 blocks the last time he played them too.
Yeah, he's been killing us, and this block was ridiculous.
Oh, it's gonna be slow.
It looked like an open dunk for Pascal, and Nerlens gets there so quickly from the weak side to block it. He's a very quiet player. He doesn't do anything offensively other than really roll to the rim. Defensively, nothing flashy, but his timing and his hops are ridiculous. And he's a huge part of their closing group. So Nerlens Noel, he's had to step up since the injury to Mitchell Robinson, and he's been a part of their winning games as well. So I'm just shouting him out quickly. That's a nice little block there.
We got this comment. Is this a Knicks post game or a Raptors post game podcast? It's a post game live show.
It's true.
K2's Garnett. Let's get that out of the way first, right? This isn't a podcast. This is a post game live show, which is why we're showing your comment live. But no, I mean it's only fair that in a post game live show that we mention the other team. It's very easy to just focus on the Raptors. And I think people watching want to see both sides of it. They want to know why the other team succeeded, what they did well, and what the Raptors struggled with and what they did well. So, and speaking about what the Raptors struggled with, Gary Trent Jr. minus 33, Oren. Is this do you think this is a Nick Nurse rotation problem with Gary Trent Jr.? Do you think this is a Gary Trent Jr. problem where he doesn't understand his role? Because remember, when he first got traded to this team, all the guys were out. So it was really just him. It was him and Pascal at times. So at times it was just him. Malachi Flynn, it was Malachi Flynn and Gary Trent Jr. leading the Raptors every single day, every single game, I should say, in scoring. So what do you think is behind Gary Trent Jr.'s struggles? Because, Oren, it's not looking good for a guy that, looked damn good for the Raptors when they first, acquired him. And then, the last 3 games, it's been 25% field goal percentage, 22% versus Brooklyn, and then OKC 36%. He did have 23 points versus OKC, but 9 for 25 in that game. And even the game before, 20% versus Atlanta. So what do you think is behind the Gary Trent Jr. struggles?
No, that's a good question. What you brought up, I think, is a big part of it. They asked Flynn and Trent to basically be the number 1 and 2 options for like a couple of weeks straight when he got to Toronto. And now to ask a young player like that to dial it back and to come off the bench, it's a hard adjustment. I think he's gonna make that adjustment eventually. But with that being said, I'm worried. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm a little bit worried about him. And him and Flynn have the opposite problem, where Flynn is really hesitant right now that he's kind of gotten moved away from this primary role and asked to come off the bench and just facilitate. He's too hesitant to get his own shot, to get into the paint, and that's why he played 6 minutes. Whereas Trent is kind of shooting everything that comes his way, and oftentimes it's not good looks because, like we've talked about, he doesn't have a quick enough first step or strength or enough of a bag to kind of get to the rim. So he settles on these mid-range jumpers a lot, and they're just not efficient looks. And he's not passing to his teammates. He's often being a ball stopper right now where it gets to him and he just looks for his own shot. It's a little bit worrisome. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I don't care if he's coming off the bench or if he's starting. Like, you can't blame Nick Nurse for his struggles because as a player, you have to figure out how do you help the team, like, no matter what. And I think a good test is like, what is this player doing when his shot's not falling? And for Trent right now, the answer is not much, unfortunately. He doesn't get to the free throw line. He doesn't create for teammates, and he's kind of okay defensively. So he's going to have to figure some things out. But at the same time, the Raptors knew this when they traded for him. They knew that he wasn't as good as Powell is at the moment. They knew that he's young and that he's cheaper and that he has a lot of room to grow. So, I'm not panicked long term, but in terms of this season, how much he can help, yeah, I mean, we'll see, because I still maintain that I like these small lineups to close, which they went to at the end of the game very late. They subbed Kem Birch for Gary Trent. And in order for those lineups to succeed and really work, especially in a playoff setting, is Trent has to keep the ball moving, make this quick decisions, stuff like that. And he hasn't really been doing that on the bench.
No, he hasn't. And he came into the game, I think he missed his first shot. And then the second shot, he was kind of fading to the right on the baseline. He hit that one. Gary Trent Jr. is a guy who can hit those type of shots, but you don't want to see him shoot a contested shot every single time he attempts a shot. Like, you want to see Gary Trent Jr. kind of let the game come to him. And he can do that. Like, that's almost what OG has been doing for, honestly, the better part of his career. In this game, he was just hitting open shots. I mean, from OG, we've seen offensive development where he's become a lot more of a 3-level scorer than we've ever seen before. But OG, you never really see force the issue over and over and over again. I think Gary Trent Jr. needs to realize that when you're playing with a Kyle and you're playing with a Fred and you're playing with an OG and a Siakam, or even some of the bench guys, you got to let the game come to you. I know sometimes it feels like for Gary Trent that when he's in the game with Malachi Flynn and Watanabe and some of the bench guys and Gillespie, he feels like the on the court he should be that guy, and he should. But it's just tough because I think with his current shot profile, it's very tough for him to get to the rim. He doesn't really have a good finishing drive, I want to say, that Norman Powell had. Norman Powell, I feel like, would attack the rim super hard. Gary Trent's a lot more finesse with it, which again is fine. But I feel like with Gary Trent, it's tough because it's kind of like, okay, set a screen for me. The defender's right on me off the mid range, and I'm going to shoot it in your face whether I hit it or not. He's struggling, and it's tough. At one point, I think he might tweeted, he's only made 13 of his last 40 shots, and I think it's even worse now. It might be like 14 for 44 or something like that in his last few games. So it's tough. It's super tough to see a guy kind of go through a moment where he's just struggling. He's not able to make his shots.
Yeah, he's going through a slump, but his shot's gonna come back. I'm not worried about that. It's the other stuff around that. But to address this comment, I hate the idea of rewarding someone for not playing well. Why are you gonna start someone because they haven't been very good off the bench? That's giving them such an easy out, and it's it sets very bad habits where it's like, okay, don't worry about it. The team will take care of it. You'll start now and we'll get you going. You have to figure out how to get yourself going. And like, he's not as good as Kyle or Fred, and therefore he's probably going to keep coming off the bench. So I really don't like that idea. But with that being said, I think this is a good transition to Kyle, who needs to be better. Like, obviously defensively, he's good. He's taking charges. He's doing great things defensively, always, Kyle. But 1 for 10 in this game. It was the same deal last game. He didn't shoot the ball very well. 9 assists, 7 rebounds. Obviously, that's great, and only 1 turnover. But this team is still the sum of its parts. It still does not have like a superstar, and so they need scoring out of all of them. And Kyle just hasn't been able to give them scoring. 4 points today. Only 2 trips to the free throw line. Usually Kyle, when his shot's not falling, he figures out how to get to the free throw line. He's incredibly crafty. But in this game, he had nothing. And you've noticed in the last little while, Kyle has really taken a step back and said, it's your guys' like team. You guys run the offense. Yeah. And he's been more of a distributor. And I love that. I think that's the best thing for this team long term for sure. But I'm sure it's going to come. He's going to learn how to be that facilitator and still get his own offense and still hit shots. But right now, as he adjusts to that role, it's definitely hurting them, because just 4 points, 1 of 10 from Kyle is not going to get it done.
It's not going to get it done at all, Lauren. And it really, really just sucks, because when you finally, you're waiting on that Fred VanVleet, good shooting game, or Pascal Siakam, good shooting game, or OG, you get it from all 3 guys. I mean, 26 from Pascal on 8 for 19 shooting. OG, 27 on 9 for 16 shooting. Fred, good shooting night, 27 on 10 for 20 shooting, 50% from 3. Fred, 11 assists, which is not something you see very often, and 5 rebounds. I mean, it's like when you get it from the stars, or the Raptors stars, or the Raptors, core guys, you don't get it from the rest of the team, whether it's Kyle or, next game it might be Kyle, OG, and Siakam. Yeah. And then Fred has a bad night. And the bench it's been a consistent theme with the bench all season long, where it's like it's come to the point where now when I come on with you on these post-game live shows and the bench has a great game, we're in shock. And we have to mention it for half of the show because we don't get that very often. So it's unfortunate that you get 3 very good games from Fred, Pascal, and OG. And yes, people are going to harp on them for, OG should have hit that, shot in the clutch, and Pascal should have hit that open 3 in the clutch, and Pascal's not, this, and Pascal missed the 2 layups, and,
I know people love to judge Pascal by the last 2 minutes of a game, that they're down like 15 when he tries to do too much. And no doubt, he does, I think, maybe get in his own head a bit and try to do too much in those situations, but to try to blame this loss on him is crazy. I thought he had a really good overall game. But sorry to cut you off, but I do want to talk about Fred, because I feel like I'm pretty hard on Fred in general. I have these biases against him. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes I don't compliment him when I should, but this was a Fred game. I thought he was the best Raptor. So I'll play this clip. His transition playmaking can often leave a lot to be desired, but I thought it was really good this game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was just making good decisions. He wasn't forcing it. So if they didn't have numbers, he was just calming it down. But when they did, he was just making really good decisions, like he does here to find Pascal. Similar thing. I'll find it. I mean, he shot lights out. I think he went 5 for 10 from 3 tonight. And those are obviously important things. And the other thing is he did a much better job. I don't have it, but he did a much better job around the rim. He often gets blocked around the rim. Yeah. And we talk about his struggles finishing inside and everything. But today I thought he did a really good job around the rim, either initiating contact when he went up. They missed some fouls on him early, and I don't mind that because it's the process. He's doing really smart things to get guys up and to get fouls. or to get contact, at least eventually they'll call them. And also, like, he's just being smarter. He's around the basket, but if there's too many trees in the way, he's just not going up like he used to, and he's just resetting the offense. And so I'm seeing a lot of growth from him around the rim for sure, because that's his biggest area of concern. He's always been a bad finisher at the rim, yet he's still always been a guy who goes to the rim a lot, and he has a high, percent of his offense comes at the rim, even though he's so inefficient there. So I think what I saw today was just smarter decision making around the basket, and only really going up if he had a clear angle to either draw some contact or to get a layup. And yeah, I think all of the baskets he made were either layups or threes.
Yeah, for me, Fred had a great game.
So Fred was great.
Yeah. He's not an elite finisher. You can't even consider him really a good finisher at the rim at this point. And a lot of that has to do with his size. But I've been saying this, and people have mentioned it. It's not just me. People have mentioned it all over Raptors Twitter, man. Fred VanVleet needs to add a floater to his game. Like, this is he's barely 6 feet. I don't care what anyone says. Like, you can say he's barely 6 feet. He's almost always the smallest guy on the court. And almost every time he drives, Oren, it's like, for him, it's like, I'm either going to take a contested layup and it's going to likely get blocked or something's going to happen, or I'm going to stop, like literally stop in my tracks, pump fake a couple times, fade away. It's like with Fred and with shorter guards, Kyle Lowry has this. You just need to have that in your arsenal. You need to have a floater in your arsenal. It helps you so much. It's not that I don't think Fred has the touch to add a floater to his arsenal. It's not that at all. I just don't think it's part of his game right now. And I think that's something for next season he has to work on. And I really hope he does, because at this point, Oren, it seems like almost every time he drives to the rim, especially after high pick and rolls, he has that space for the floater, but he doesn't really know what to do. It's almost like, should I take a 4-foot jump shot, or should I just go all in and just lay it up at the rim, or should I stop in my tracks? And it's like, you shouldn't necessarily have to do that. That adds a whole different level to your game. And the reason I mentioned that, Oren, is because we saw Derrick Rose do it. Derrick Rose has mastered the floater. He hit a contested floater. He took Pascal Siakam to the rim. And again, Derrick Rose, one of the better, dribblers in our game. His left to right is vicious. I mean, he can still get guys. I think he's like in his mid-30s by now, if not early 30s, maybe 33, 32 years old. His left to right dribble move is still nasty. He got Pascal with it, but Pascal has very good, recovery, defensive recovery. So Pascal recovered, and then, the floater got him. And that's something that I wish Fred would add to his game. The Knicks made tough shots all game. The Raptors had opportunities to make tough shots, especially when it came to Fred VanVleet. And in this one, it's like, man, oh man. But Fred had a great game. So I'm not going to harp on really what he didn't do well or what he should add to his game, because I feel like he's one of the last guys that we should really harp on in this game. Like we said, Fred, Pascal, and OG had great games. It felt like at times OG wasn't really even missing shots, hitting threes with guys in his face. Julius Randle was giving him looks like, what? Like, you can hit that? So OG, shout out to those three. It was really just the rest of the team. Kyle on the bench just wasn't and honestly as well, Oren, this is a guy I also wanted to mention as well, Khem Birch. I feel like Khem Birch, the Knicks really, when you think about it, Oren, they don't have that much size. They don't, and when I say size, I don't just mean in height, I mean in width. Like, when Nerlens Noel is in the game, he's a guy that if you put your shoulder down, like, you can get the best of. And yes, he's an elite shot blocker. Taj Gibson is like 60 years old, man. It's like the only times Khem Birch was attacking Taj Gibson on pick and rolls, he was winning. He got fouled once. Another time, I think he tried to dunk it, but I think it was a missed alley-oop play from Kyle Lowry or something like that. But man, oh man, like, I wish I saw more Khem Birch in this game. I want, the Randle looked exhausted, and rightfully so, leading the league in minutes per game, right? In this game, let me check how much he had minutes. It had to be just around that 40 mark. 39 minutes in this one, which is right around his season average. His offensive load was massive. There were times when Siakam was literally just blowing by Randle, and someone mentioned that in the comments when Pascal missed, 2 layups that he probably should have hit, late in the fourth quarter when he blew by Randle.
Those were huge.
Yeah, those were huge. He also had an open three that he missed. OG had a wide open three he missed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough. I mean, you have to kind of take advantage where you can. And for Toronto, they did at times. I'm not going to act like Pascal didn't try and take advantage of Randle. At times he did, which is why he finished, 27. But man, I wanted to see Birch or Gillespie have a little bit more of an impact on this game. Gilly, who by the way was part of Oren, one of the funnier videos we got to see on Raptors Twitter. It made it everywhere. It was on TikTok. It was on Instagram. I think the Bleacher Report might have posted it, as an article or something. But it went everywhere. That viral, Freddie Gillespie and Malachi Flynn, dancing video. But I wish I saw more Freddie in this game. He'd be a little bit more productive. Same as Kem Birch. It was tough, man.
I think tough. We've obviously, for good reason, gotten ahead of ourselves with these centers because what they are compared to what we had before is like a huge upgrade. But this center rotation is not like gonna cut it in the playoffs, I don't think. Like in a playoff setting, which this game kind of felt like, like you said, Birch can't really take advantage of like those mismatches. And he's not even really much stronger than like a Nerlens or anything. He's more of a defensive guy, and I thought he was pretty good defensively. And Gillespie had one of his worst games recently, only 13 minutes. But like we talked about this last time, like Gillespie, I don't know if he's ready to be in like that playoff setting yet. He's a rookie.
I don't think so. No.
And even Birch isn't really. He's not a great starting center to have in your playoffs. So. Mm-hmm. This game kind of exposed that.
I think you can get away with Birch being your starting center if you have guards like Lowry, Fred VanVleet, and then you have forwards like Anunoby and Siakam. But I'm with you with Gillespie, man. Like you can't when it really, really comes down to it. And I think you're going to notice this versus the upcoming playoff teams that the Raptors play in the regular season. You're going to notice that Gillespie, he's not it. And is he a better option than Baines? For me, absolutely, because really that's who he took the minutes from, right? Because if you're wondering why he's on the court in the first place, I mean, you have to have a big presence out there when Kem Birch isn't in somehow, some way, or else you're just going to get destroyed on the rebounds, right? So can you play him versus the Knicks, who look like a clear-cut playoff team? I don't know. Clearly in this game, it looked like Freddie didn't really have it. So
he looked out of place.
And you can't blame him either.
He's so raw.
He's on a 10-day. Yeah,
exactly. He's so raw. You even see Fred teaching him post moves in the middle of the game. Yeah. Like that's how raw of a player this guy is.
Fred gave it to him and he shot like a 10-foot jumper and Fred's like, no, don't do that. Don't do that, buddy. Go up. Go towards the rim. Don't shoot those 10-foot jumpers. That's not you.
Like you just said, this upcoming run is going to be a really good test to see what we have in Birch and Gillespie because we got AD and Jokic coming up among, I think Utah. So Rudy Gobert, some of the best centers in the world are coming up. So this will be the test to see like, okay, can Birch be a starting center next year? Can Gillespie, look like he belongs in these games? Like this will be a good test, just like this Knicks game one was, even though they obviously don't have Birch didn't look out of place. He just wasn't able to really take advantage of any of those mismatches. And I think I think like this is a more bigger philosophical thing, but like in the playoffs, I think you need like an elite center. Like that's the way this league is going. Bam. You have to deal with Bam, Embiid, AD, Jokic, like those were the final four last year. Those were the final four centers. Like it's just such an important position to be,
or at least an elite defensive center at the very minimum, because you can
which like Nerlens Noel is.
Yeah, you can argue Marc Gasol was that for the Raptors.
Yeah,
where,
for sure.
Defensively, he was elite, and offensively, he just wasn't there for the Raptors last year.
And that worked because you had Ibaka too. It was it was amazing. It only was amazing because you had both. If we only had Mark, people would have complained a lot about Mark. And if we 100%. Only had Serge, people would have complained. But because it was 20 minutes a night from each, it worked. It was like the best center rotation in basketball for a couple of years. So, Raptors, we know that they have a big job this offseason, but it is fun to watch Birch and Gillespie still. Like, Birch is still giving them really good minutes. He had 2 blocks today, 4 of 5, plus 15. So by far the only plus member in the game, and he's plus 15. So Birch was good. He was not the problem.
No, he wasn't.
The bench was the problem. And, like, look, we talked about it. Fred, Siakam, and OG each had 26 and 27 points, and everyone else was 8, 4, 2, 3, 2, 4. Like, really just not helping those big three out.
Quick question, Oren. Would you have liked to see, because I tweeted this late in the game, would you have liked, and again, it's easy to say in hindsight, but would you have liked to see DeAndre Bembry maybe play in a game where Kyle Lowry's not shooting as well and Gary Trent's not, shooting as well? Would you have liked to see DeAndre Bembry maybe come in as a spark plug of some sort?
Kyle only played 36 minutes, which for him isn't crazy, and I still rather have Kyle out there. But I think, like you just said, it's hard to say. Like, I think
it's hard, yeah.
I want to see them play this small lineup more. They have been shying away from it recently. But at the same time, I understand the hesitancy because they started getting killed on the offensive boards, even with Birch in the game late. Yeah. So it's hard to then justify taking out Birch and playing like a Trent or whoever it is. So, no, I don't have problems really with the lineups in this game. I just think didn't get enough out of the bench.
Didn't get enough from the bench. And Oren, and this, I'm looking at the Raptors schedule now. This is probably a game that they wanted to win more than anything because it gets tough, man. I mean, today is Saturday, right? The afternoon, like we said, guys, matinee alert. Monday night, you have the Cleveland Cavaliers. That has to be a must-win. Like, that is a must win. It's a home game. And I know, guys, home game, Tampa, you guys laugh in the comments whenever I say home game, whatever. But it's a home game. It's the Cavaliers. They've beaten you this season bad. You have to win that because, Oren, the next, let me see this, 5 games are the Brooklyn Nets, the Denver Nuggets, the Utah Jazz, the LA Lakers, who, by the way, are I don't know if they've gotten AD back already. Oren, have they gotten AD back?
Yeah, he was on a minutes restriction last night.
So he likely won't be a minutes restriction by May the 2nd, which is when they face the Lakers.
Yeah.
So let me repeat that again. So you got the Nets, the Nuggets, the Jazz, the Lakers, and the Clippers.
No, yeah, this is the stretch that we've been kind of looking forward to. And I mean, I remember saying on this show that the Raptors have to take advantage of this easy part of the schedule because it gets really tough at the end, and they didn't take advantage of the easy part of the schedule. They lost games to really bad teams over and over again. So now if they really want to make a playoff run, they made it extremely hard on themselves to do so. And this was a huge game in that sense as well. Cleveland, I'm not too worried about Cleveland, but even if you win that game, it's a huge uphill battle, especially Washington has, I think, the easiest schedule in the East. And they're like a half or a game up on the Raptors, and the Raptors have, I think, the hardest schedule in the East coming up. So the Raptors, they're fighting an uphill battle, but they're finally healthy. I still think that they could do some things even against those Western Conference powerhouses, but they got to figure out these rotations, especially these bench rotations, quickly.
Yeah, and I mentioned that 5-game stretch, Oren. After that, it really doesn't even get any easier. You have the Wizards who are playing well. Westbrook, I read a stat, Oren. Westbrook has had 17 triple-doubles in his last 23 games. And that made me very curious last night because then I searched up his game log, and I realized, and again, this could be totally wrong. I believe it's just, I'm going to say it's roughly accurate. If I counted it correctly, I think he had 30 or 31 triple doubles in his last 37 games.
Yeah, I could believe that.
You got the Grizzlies, Oren, you got the Clippers after that again, and then you got the Bulls, who, yes, they're struggling, but the Bulls are right where the Raptors are. Then you got the Dallas Mavericks, and then you end the season with the Indiana Pacers. So, good luck to the Raptors. Josh over here says, wait, don't we want to lose? No, Josh, we don't want to do that. I love when people do that, though. The Raptors will be on a 3 or 4 game winning streak and they'll lose one. It's like, wait a sec. I thought we were losing this whole time. It's like, no, man, we weren't, Josh. So it's unfortunate, again, for the Raptors that not only do they lose a game to, probably the hottest team in the league, one that they needed bad, but their next, 10 games or so is just an absolute, it's a gauntlet. This is what it is. And I'm going to be totally honest with you, Oren. I don't know if the Raptors can get it done in time. I don't know if their chemistry catches up. I don't know if Nick Nurse can perfect the rotations. There's not enough time. There just isn't enough time. And it's not Nick Nurse's fault, Oren, because this is something, perfecting rotations is something you do early in the season to kind of find out who fits best. But he's been missing guys the whole year. So it's like, Oren,
I know. I'm worried about these centers coming up too, because like I talked about with Julius Randle today, their double teams just didn't look crisp. It wasn't like the trademark Raptors like doubles, forcing turnovers, or just forcing him to give up the ball. Julius had his way against them, finding open teammates. And, you do that to Jokic or Embiid, these guys will eat you alive. So the Raptors actually succeeded doing that when Powell was on the team, because I think that 5-man unit had so much chemistry playing together. But now without that chemistry, I worry that they don't just have it right now, the ability to take care of those guys, because Ken Birch can't guard those guys one-on-one. So we'll see.
No. Yeah, we'll see.
But I think that's it. That's all I got.
That's all I got as well. We appreciate all the live comments. I feel like we didn't get to you guys probably as much as we should have, because you guys are going a bit wild in the comments. I'm seeing some blame Masai. Damn, people are really panicking in the comments now. Someone said Siakam and Van Vliet too many minutes running all over the court. You could probably argue that. You could probably argue that all the starters got too many minutes, but the starters played well and the bench didn't. So it's almost like Nick Nurse would have got blamed either way. If he didn't play them enough, it's like, well, they were playing well. Why didn't you play them, Nick? And if he plays them too much, it's like, hey, Nick, you played them too much. They're tired. And I think Nick honestly played it perfectly in terms of the minutes, because you're not going to play the bench a ton of minutes.
He's trying to win. And these guys are well rested. And these guys are very well rested too.
3 points, like we said, Malachi 2, Gary Trent 4, and Gillespie 2. So you got 11 points total from your bench. So let's not blame Nick Nurse for the excess minutes he gave to the starters when the bench is doing that for you. Yeah. I think that's gonna wrap it up for us, Oren. But before you guys leave us tonight, right, as per usual, guys, it's the afternoon. You have no excuses. I know you guys had your coffee already. We need you to like, we need you to comment, and we need you to subscribe to the Raptors Republic channel. Like this video before you leave for us. Thank you. We appreciate it if you have already. Turn on the post notifications if you haven't already. If you guys, like I always say, guys, Zarar by now is our producer. He posts tons of film analysis videos on our Raptors Republic channel. That's great. If you love film analysis, if you're a real basketball junkie like me and Oren, and you're watching that all the time, then you're probably going to love that. So get into that. We have tons of interviews, guys, G League coaches, NCAA D1 coaches, some NBA assistant coaches. So we have tons of content. We have, podcasts. Oren, what am I forgetting? Did I just name everything that our channel has? I think that's everything.
We're the best on YouTube. We're the best channel on YouTube.
We're the best on YouTube. No, we want to thank our sponsor, RF Qureshi, for Revax for supporting the show. This was the wrap up, I should say, your Raptors Republic post-game live show, where your Raptors came up short versus the New York Knicks, 120-103. That brings the Raptors record to, and don't email me, guys, or DM me, 25-35 on the season. I'm your co-host, Sahal Abdi, again here with Oren Weisfeld. We'll see you guys Monday night versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Must win Monday night. Oren, if we don't win this, I don't know what I'm going to be saying on the post-game live show.
Keep emailing him, guys.
Don't.